about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So nothing is more of a buzzkill than talking about New Year's resolutions. And I'm really down on those because I don't like them. People don't really seem to stick with them. But I got to admit, they do have some use. One is it shuts your family up when they're giving you a lot of grief. You know, you're eating too much. You're drinking too much. When are you going to quit smoking? What's nice about the New Year's resolution is during the holidays, you could basically say, I made a New Year's resolution to quit smoking. I made a New Year's resolution to lose weight. I made a New Year's resolution to get a job. Why don't you have a girlfriend? Why don't you have a boyfriend? I have a New Year's resolution to do that. So then it kind of shuts them up. Because they don't want to say, they don't want you to say, yeah, I'm working on it. When you say you have a New Year's resolution, that's a commitment. That means there is a day of the week. You are resolute in this, making a resolution. And I notice sometimes they back off and then until they do a follow-up question. Well, how are you going to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend? How are you going to quit smoking? The follow-up questions are a little tricky. But a lot of us will say, look, it's a New Year's resolution. I'm going to clean the house more regularly. I'm going to be in touch with people I should be. I'm going to be nicer to my spouse. But that's a New Year's resolution. So, but also one thing that I do understand is many of us want to improve ourselves. We have another year. And with that other year, we get a little sad. We get a little bit in a slump. Why? Because we realize, wait a second, I'm getting older. Every time I see that new year, I get a little sad going, wait a second, I'm getting older. Because I think back to 2016 year or 2020 or 2000 or 1995. I go back and I remember all those New Years and I'm like, wow, the years just keep flipping by. And so sometimes we want to, make lemonade out of lemons. Life gives you lemons, make lemonade. If you're going to get older and there's going to be, then do something, improve on it. Use this as an opportunity to improve on yourself. So I get it. Yeah. And so the most commonly New Year's resolutions that people make is to lose weight, to stop smoking, to drink less, to make more money, to spend more time with family, to perform better at work. Yeah, I promised you guys that last year and it didn't happen. To save more money, to eat healthier, to go to church or temple more often, to get a boyfriend or girlfriend, to spend less time on the internet or smartphone, to watch less porn. These are some of the most common New Year's resolutions, but they're also commonly failed. Why? Because they're too general and insurmountable. You're going to make more money. If you could have made more money, you would have already done it. If you could have lost weight, wouldn't you have already done that? And so what happens is you make them so big and insurmountable that they don't ever come to fruition. So you got to make them practical and attainable. So as I always said, start ahead of time. That's why I told you guys back in December, start on your New Year's resolution. So maybe if you were cutting back on smoking, you're already down a couple cigarettes. Maybe you're already down a couple calories. You've organized your schedule. You've made a CV or resume, but that's okay. But also kind of plan it out and recruit family members and friends. Tell them, look, I'm trying to quit smoking. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to find a boyfriend or girlfriend. I might need your help with this. And boy, do family and friends love that. As long as you're not asking them for money. If you see me reach for a candy bar, or if you see me at the grocery store buying something I shouldn't, or can you be on top of that? And then you got to choose easy, finite, small, discrete steps. So let's say your goal is to lose weight. And you're like, okay, it's never happened before. Well, then what about you make a goal? I'm going to drink more water. If you drink more water, you actually fill up. You hydrate better. That's healthier. You drink a glass of water before you eat. It starts to fill you up. Maybe your goal is, I'm going to drink more water. And as a result, not only are you going to lose weight, but you're also going to hydrate your kidneys and you might even be healthier. Now, I don't want you to overdrink water and get hyponatremia, but if you're not a big water drinker and you're more about the diet soda, swapping out a can of diet soda for a bottle of water, that could work. What if you said, well, I'm going to spend more time with family? That's just too broad. What about calling your mother once a week? Like, sorry. Okay, once a month. Once a month. Okay, is that more doable? I'm going to call somebody once a month. That's a great way to satisfy I'm going to spend more time with the family. With weight loss, don't say I'm going to lose 60 pounds. Probably won't happen. But maybe your New Year's resolution is I'm going to lose 5 pounds in January. That's my goal. And then if that works, you're going to try to lose 5 pounds in February. Let's say you only lost 4. All right. Well, I'm going to lose 6 pounds then in February. So there's ways you could do that. Another thing is eating more vegetables. If your New Year's resolution is to eat more vegetables, now you're going to lose weight. You're going to be healthier. You're going to also probably save money because you're not buying junk food. What about I'm going to save more money? How do you do that? Well, maybe take $20 a paycheck and put it in savings. Maybe make 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. playtime with the kids. Walk 10 minutes a day in January. You want to lose weight? You want to work out? You want to go to the gym, but you don't think you're going to do that? What about I'm going to hit 10,000 steps, or I'm going to walk 10 minutes a day. And then maybe in February, bring it up to 15 minutes. Maybe plan the third Saturday of the month to be date night with your spouse. Join a club, team, church, temple group. Put out a cigarette after 1 to 2 puffs. That's a great New Year's resolution. I'm not going to smoke the whole cigarette. I'm just going to stop after a couple puffs. Maybe make it a New Year's resolution to do your blood work. Check your cholesterol, blood sugar, blood pressure, make a physical appointment. Maybe plan a mid-year vacation. Organize your desk at work. Walk the dog for an extra half hour on Sundays. Limit your computer phone time an hour a day. But make them little and attainable. And also listen to more of the Dr. Daliah Show. That's a great New Year's resolution because we help with all of that. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. It's 2026. Happy New Year. How was everybody's New Year's Eve? Mine, thank God, was uneventful. I kind of actually have always stayed up till midnight, always. But I worked a lot this weekend, so I worked, well, not this weekend, it was during the week. And so I had to get up early. And usually I like to see the fireworks, and I get up and I stay up till midnight. And it was raining. I live in Southern Nevada, so we had a lot of rain. And there was supposed to be a fireworks show and a drone show, and I think it still happened. But I'm thinking to myself, I could be in a warm bed going to sleep, or I could be standing outside in the rain. And I've always told myself that the day I stop celebrating New Year's Eve is the day I grow old. And this was like one of the first years where, yeah, I celebrated a little bit, but I'm like, I'm going to go to bed early. And I did. I was in bed by 10:30. And I almost went to withdrawal. I'm like, I can't believe this. I'm going to do it. I can't tell anybody. I'm so embarrassed that who cares? I got sleep. And trust me, I was up at 5:30 in the morning. So, the next day. So I was better for it. But, I watched the ball drop, the New York City ball drop the next day. And I saw, and, I'm looking at the people in New York. Actually, I was watching, I think, part of the New York while it was going on. And it was interesting because some of those individuals looked bored. Now, it could have been hypothermia because they were standing outside in the cold, but I expected to see a lot more partying and revelry. They almost looked bored, and it looked like they had to just stand. And in the 5-inch space that they were allotted, and they really couldn't move and do much, and all you could do was stand. Now, I have never been on the Strip during New Year's Eve. I get, because it would probably be like World War II. I mean, it's a blood sport to try to get your spot and see the angle you want to see and not be thrown up on. And the Las Vegas Strip is fantastic. I mean, we do a beautiful New Year's Eve every year, but I've never done that because you're stuck. You got to pee. There's no place to pee. But, I really want to know, are people really enjoying themselves? And then a couple of my family members went to some parties, one drink. And, was it fun? Well, it was fun at first. And then doesn't seem to be that fun when you don't feel better. And then the hangover the next day. When I can't tell you how many people I took care of who were hungover, headache, nauseated, feeling bad. And I go, well, how was last night? And some of them said, I couldn't remember. So when you kind of put all that together where you're not remembering and is it really worth it? I'm not saying not celebrate New Year's Eve. Celebrate New Year's Eve. But make sure you're having fun. If it's not fun to stand in the middle of the cold, hours before a socialist mayor, right, gets sworn in, then maybe celebrate it another way. Is it because we just have to say, I was there? I was there. And I get that. That's a big part of this society and our generation, the younger generation, to say, well, I was there. I saw that. I was there. And good for you. I don't mind that, a part of that being a goal, because many of us just watch life happen. And if you make these goals saying, well, I hiked up, Monte Picchu, I hiked up Mount Charleston, or I hiked up Mount Kilimanjaro. I was there, on the Sydney Bridge, or then you do something and you live. And so making these goals where you're like, I want to say I did it, and good for you. I think that's fine. But I just look around and I see people who were miserable. I also see a lack of safety. I was watching the London today, I think I watched the videos of the London New Year's Eve, and it was really pretty how they did that. But if there were people standing by that, the merry-go-round, is it a Ferris wheel? The Ferris wheel. You're kind of wondering, did they breathe in a lot of smoke? I mean, how was the air? Did they get any, sort of that flash on them? And was it really safe? And then when you see some of these places with the fireworks and the sparklers, I mean, look at what happened in Switzerland. 115 people injured, and I think the death toll is over 47 because a blaze just tore through Le Constellation. It's an alpine resort of the Crans, Montana, mountains. It's a ski resort there. It's really beautiful. But apparently a waitress was holding a sparkler during champagne service. This ignited material on the ceiling, gas built up, and then there was a blast, and people couldn't escape in time. Now Switzerland is undergoing a 5-day period of mourning. Survivors helped people get outside, tried to keep them warm, tried to move them to nearby businesses. I mean, seeing so many people die and so many people injured, and I want you to celebrate, but you could actually see what happened. You see the sparklers being, I think, put into champagne bottles. What idiot came up with that? What idiot thought that was going to be safe? And unfortunately, alcohol and fire don't mix. And then they believe what happened is the fumes built up, so there was like a blast that caused an explosion. It was very similarly in the MGM Hotel back in the 80s when we had the fire at the MGM Hotel, that people were trying to leave. There was no automatic, or there was no manual doors. They were automatic because that was new and innovative in the 80s. And then the fire had started in the kitchen. And as the gas started to infiltrate the casino. It built and built and built, and then the fire shot right across. It was horrible. But the majority of people who died during the MGM fire in the 80s, I believe it was 83 or 86, died from smoke inhalation. You saw many, unfortunately, in the stairway. And so fires can kill by a variety of reasons, by a variety of methods. But, I'm looking at this going, look, I love sparklers. I love fireworks. Champagne, I like that too. It's fun. But I notice people just don't seem to be thinking right on New Year's Eve. They do stupid. I saw some of you out there in little stiletto heels and short skirts, and it was 30 degrees. Would you do that if it wasn't New Year's Eve? No, you would dress warm. You would make sure you didn't, screw up and get frostbite or hypothermia. We're just not smart about things. And then the drivers. One thing that I started, and I know I'm sounding old, but I love staying out till midnight, watching the lights, but then driving home, it's dangerous. I mean, I am praying the whole time because people are drunk. People are driving, and people say, I'm not going to, I'll have a designated driver. If your designated driver is drunk now, many of you are like, well, I'm going to wing it. Don't do that. Don't. Unfortunately, in my neck of the woods, we've already had some deadly crashes. And so maybe with New Year's Eve, we just need to be a little smarter about it. But when I see people, they think they're having a good time, but they're not. Be honest. If you don't think you're going to have a good time standing out in the cold, don't do it. If you don't think you're going to have a good time getting drunk, don't do it. If you don't want to spend the money, don't do it. But if you want to feel like you're living, you want to feel like you're hitting a milestone, I think that's wonderful. And celebrating in one of these areas that's very highly publicized, it is a cool thing to do. It is very, very cool. But all I know is on the Strip, it was raining, it was cold, you don't get the full view you want. And so is it really worth it? And I think that's going to be the moral of this year. Are some of the things we're doing really, really worth it? Now, we have some reports of people falling off cruise ships and falling off mountains as they were trying to get the selfie of the day or the selfie of the year. Was it really worth it? We're starting to do things just to get the picture, just to say that we did it, just to say we were married. You know how many people get married just to say they're married or that they're engaged? Do they really want to be married? So it's okay to be honest with yourself. That's the one thing the Gen Zs and millennials said that we could now do, where we understand there's traditions, but is this something you really want to do? Is this something you really, really need? Is this something that's really going to make you happy? But just don't do stupid. So Happy New Year. I am really excited about 2026. I know I've been negative about the midterms, but I have to be positive because being positive brings positive things. And I wish you all a Happy New Year. And let's get started. We got a lot to talk about. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one of you showed me your New Year's resolutions, and it was to learn more tech, to understand VR so you could play with your kids, understand their video games, be more tech savvy, learn how to code. But you're not excited about that, and I don't blame you. I haven't even tried to learn code, and I know it's a good skill to have, but it's funny because I'm not very tech savvy, and I have not embraced tech, and I'm Gen X. I was born between 1980 and 1965, so I've been thinking about this. Why do older adults reject tech? So for me, I went to 12 schools. And so when the teachers said that you couldn't dangle a participle or misspell a word and you had to know your own spelling and you had to complete an envelope correctly, they were so strict that these were things that I was afraid to mess up on. And now I could type on my computer, completely misspell the words, and the computer will just magically correct the spelling. And I feel guilty. I feel like that's wrong. I should know how to spell the words myself. I do know how to spell the words. It's just I mistype and I hit the wrong key or something. But yeah, it's nice that computers do that. But I think it's so ingrained that there are things you need to do and you need to know how to do them yourself. And you need to write correctly and create prose that you have to do it yourself. You're not allowed to rely on other things to do it for you. And all of a sudden now we'll dangle our participle and Gramercy or whatever that, I don't know what that is on your Google Docs. We'll tell you you're dangling your participle. I mean, that's kind of a big change for me because, these are things you have to do. Just like, we've been kind of going back and forth with people's pronouns and how to do that properly. And you'll see some of the older generations go, but wait a second, you're mixing plural and singular. And so we have a lot of individuals whose pronouns are they and them instead of he or she. And so with they and them, now you're taking a singular and you're putting a plural with it. So Johnny walked into the store. he bought a ball. If you said Johnny walked into a store, they bought a ball, you would get smacked on the wrist with a ruler, or you would get an F on your paper. In fact, I got in trouble multiple times for mixing up my single and plural. But this is what we're doing now. And in fact, I'm even noticing programs correcting me, where if I put a name, they'll correct he, she. And I'm like, actually, it is a he or it is a she. You misgendered them. So I think that's part of it. Another thing that I think that we're hesitant about is we don't want to lose our skills. So when I was in honors math and AP math, you weren't allowed to use a calculator unless it was, I think, trigonometry and the sin, cos, tan and all that. And so, we were able to use calculators and the scientific calculators for some things, but everything you had to do your own calculations. You had to do it all by yourself. And then, the more you use computers, I remember feeling a little guilty. And the more I used calculators, I felt guilty. And now, I could, deduce what tip I should give. And I could do math, but I'm noticing when I'm just too tired and lazy, I go to the computer. Well, a lot of us older individuals are looking at our longevity, our brain function, our risk of dementia. And we worry that if we stop remembering a telephone number or we stop doing the math in our head, if we don't use it, we're going to lose it. And so when an older person's like, no, I want to turn around and look for a car. So this happens in my car. I turn my head when I back out. And my kids are like, Mom, why are you doing that? You have a camera in front. And I go, oh, hell no. There is no way I'm going to trust a camera. When I have been driving for how many years, I'm going to turn around and make sure I don't see a human being. And then I might double check with the camera. But they look at me like, why would I do it the old way? It's because I just feel like it's more thorough. We also don't want to feel like we have to rely on tech. Another thing that many of us who are Gen X's or baby boomers, I can't speak for all baby boomers because I'm a Gen X, but we feel that once we start to rely on it, we can't go back. So I've been seeing patients using electronic documentation, electronic charts. And I was very slow to receive that because I didn't think the software was adding everything I wanted. And you could add to the software, etc. But I feel like now that I've been doing electronic charts, that if I wanted to write out my own prescription or I wanted to write something out, I'd have to stop and think for a minute. I shouldn't have to stop and think for a minute. It should be just completely involuntarily. I should be able to do it, just naturally. So, I'm middle-aged, but I'm noticing that every time I think I should do something with tech, I either feel guilty, I feel like I'm going to lose my old skills. And a big thing that I'm noticing is as it pertains to languages. So I self-taught Spanish. I took 5 years in school, but it wasn't until I was in medical school and I had to learn medical Spanish. I'm not completely fluent in Spanish, but I'm fluent in medical Spanish. And so I could hold conversations and I did that because I had to learn it and I had to put it in my head. And now you have all these Google Translates and you have all these things that are just making it simple so that you don't have to learn it. Well, we've had studies show that if you are bilingual or multilingual, you have a lower risk of dementia. And so if that's the case, and we're now using tech for our second language, and we're using tech to add things and tech to remember birthdays, then our dementia could be, coming at us like a freight train. So I don't want to scare people. If you want to use tech, you should. I think there's a lot of things that tech is improving in our lives. But one thing you're going to have to do is go back to old school. If your grandkids or kids have birthdays, and I have, like with my nephews, I have my nephews' birthdays memorized, but not all of them. There's some I can remember and some I can't. And so I rely on my phone. Don't put them to memory. Just go back to old school. If there's a phone number of a friend, just try practicing and remembering it. And then a few minutes later, tell you again, a couple days later, But if you're really worried about losing it, you're going to have to put some work into it. And tech, unfortunately, is ruining that for us. So now, let's say you're the young one and you're trying to convince your older family member to use tech. Well, you could say what I had said and say, look, I understand what your concerns are because you were raised a certain way. And this is half-assed. We were raised not to do things half-assed. Me, Gen X, and baby boomers. You had to do things right, and you don't rely on anybody else. And so I get that. And you could still have a backup paper system, but there's a lot of things, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, that's going to make your life easier. And so give it a try. See if you like it. And another thing, too, is you can't teach old dog new tricks. I don't like learning things new. There was a piano sitting there, and I tried to play the old pieces I remembered, and I couldn't remember them. And so my husband was like, well, why don't you take some lessons again? Oh, hell no, I don't want to take lessons. I don't want to learn again. I don't want to be a student. Well, get that out of your mind. Why not? You're never too old to learn. And by the way, it brings things back, and it brings back a lot of memories. So for those of us that are really worried about dementia and worried about how we're going to start losing our skills if we don't keep it up, then just make that effort. And don't let tech dumb you down. Use tech to make you smarter. You're allowed. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. And we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. I got to tell you, this Minnesota Child Services fraud is just getting more and more. The more we see, the more we hear, the worse it's getting. And it's not going to go away anytime soon because it is uncovering not only a massive fraud scheme of taxpayer dollars, but also media scheme, political schemes. And I think this is bigger than we could even comprehend, and not just in Minnesota, but in other places. So the latest now is a back and forth between CBS News and the independent journalist Nick Shirley, who uncovered a lot of this and had to do his own investigative journalism, since most media outlets didn't really seem to care. And now there's some back and forth between him and a CBS reporter. So according to Fox News, this is really interesting. Independent journalist Nick Shirley, who's the one that made that 45-minute video that we've all been seeing, called out CBS News reporter Jonah Kaplan over his video claiming that the Minnesota daycare centers Shirley visited were not, quote-unquote, fraudulent. Now, Kaplan works with CBS News' Minneapolis affiliate, and Kaplan posted a video on CBS News that offered their own analysis of nearly a dozen daycare centers Shirley visited in his viral video. Now, in the video, Kaplan reported that while the locations Shirley highlighted did receive citations for issues related to safety and cleanliness, there was no evidence of fraud. Now, I'm a little confused because what Shirley did is he went to places that got government funds and there were no kids. And when he asked, where's the kids? You didn't see any kids. In fact, one of the learning centers was even misspelled, Quality Learning Center. So I guess they leer there and not learn. Well, CBS said, we visited those sites too, this affiliate, and said, as did inspectors many times over the last 6 months. And we found the facts on the ground tell a different story. Those daycares, many of them were written up for safety violations, things like busted equipment or staff training issues, but that's not the same as being fraudulent. So it's important to put all of this into context. Now, apparently, CBS's video, the journalist Kaplan, the anchor, received backlash for not showing their investigation. So Shirley responded. Shirley's the independent journalist. who uncovered a lot of this, said, why don't you go to a daycare yourself and you will see it firsthand? Or you could just keep yapping on selfie mode. So they're going back and forth. But what Shirley did is document several visits to daycare centers, and many of them didn't appear to look like they were active or had any children there. Yet it appears they continued to receive millions of government funding. Now, Kaplan had a report for CBS Evening News, and he said he found that all but 2 of the locations had active licenses, and said CBS News had visited and called several of the daycare centers on Monday, but received no responses. Now, that doesn't mean they're in the clear and they're innocent, and you're innocent until proven guilty. But the problem we have is if money is being spent on something that, and the people who are supposed to be the recipients, such as kids, are not getting that, then the funding stops. And that's from what I understand what the Department of Education and what the Trump administration is doing. They're just stopping the funds completely. The problem is there are some legitimate places who need those funds. So they now have to prove, they have to show evidence like videos and photos that they're actually taking care of kids. And they're not just a front of misspelling of Quality Learning Center, which, by the way, Quality Learning Center did fix the typo, but if you call that quality learning, that's like, gosh, I'd hate to think what poor quality looked like. And so Minnesota officials apparently, rather than thanking Nick Shirley and saying, we're going to take this and run with it and add this to our investigation, instead they pushed back. Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families Commissioner Tiki Brown said that the past inspections have not uncovered any evidence of fraud. Now, if there's no kids and it's supposed to be helping the pediatric population, what other evidence do you need? I mean, that's pretty obvious. Now, one of the counter arguments, one of the daycares had said is we're closed. That's why you don't see any kids. But then he pans to the window of the hours, and it was supposed to be open. So according to Tiki Brown, they said that we are aware of a video that is being circulated that's gained local and national attention about child care centers in Minnesota. While we have questions about some of the methods that were used in the video, we do take the concerns that the video raises about fraud very seriously. So at least somebody's going to take it seriously. But you see, the reason why this story is getting so much traction is, one, is where did the millions, if not billions of dollars go? Number 2, who knew about it? Number 3, when whistleblowers came out and they said they told Governor Walz and they told people and they got shut up, why? Number 4, are votes being bought? Are there certain populations that are in cahoots with the government or vice versa? How deep does this go? And it should be pretty simple. Where's the money? Show me the money. Where'd the money go? If the money's there to help kids, then let's see it. I mean, any other charity has to do that. I mean, if you have a charitable organization and a nonprofit, you have to show where the money is being spent. I think you could use up to 35% for administrative fees and rent and staff and licenses or whatever and insurance. Yeah, because you got to keep the doors open. But the rest of it has to be all documented. Who got what? Where did the money go? And if not, you're in trouble. Yet these daycare centers, now and let's say that these the majority of the daycare centers are legit. Well, that would be very easy to prove. Just where's the kids? Where's the sign showing proper spelling? If it's a quality daycare, it's really easy to prove and disprove, and just show us the money. Where's the money coming from? So my concern is not only is this just in Minnesota, my concern is there might be fraud throughout, because once somebody finds a way to make money and they find lack of oversight, or worse, somebody encouraging it, I am sure there are other bad actors out there taking advantage. But you would think the media would want to uncover this. It's almost their response was, no, nothing to see here. Are you kidding me? If so, then show us the video. And you could, I understand, you could fade the kids' faces out, because I understand you can't show kids on camera. Even my dogs agree. So I understand with kids, you need to fade out the face because you can't show them. But CBS or whoever is counter-arguing, say, no, all of these are legit. Show us the daycare. Show us non-cubicles and actively, it's not that hard. And then anything the government gives money to, we should have the transparency to the public, especially if it's taxpayer dollars. This isn't rocket science, people. So I'm really, really confused why there's this pushback. And look, I get it. You don't want everybody and their mother that has an iPhone to think that now they are a high quality journalist. And I get that. Everybody now thinks they're a broadcaster. They think they're a TV star. I get that. But something as simple as, hello, this is a daycare on the list that's making money. Where are the kids? We don't see the kids. We don't even see decor. It doesn't look anything like another daycare. I think it's absolutely appropriate to, ask the questions. And he even said, I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just asking you, where's the kids? This is a daycare, so where's the kids? Now, I understand people in the public don't just get access to the kids, but it looked like an office with some cubicles. It did not look like what a daycare center would look like. We're not stupid. And seeing pushback from the media is highly suspect. Who are they trying to protect? 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.